Let me tell y'all, this is dedication right now, okay? Because I recorded a 2 hour live for day 6 that has no audio, no sound at all. So I cannot do what I did in those 2 hours. In those 2 hours, I literally read all of the testimony that was posted. Um, and I just don't have it in me, but I need a day 6 video for the Diddy trial in order to keep my content consistent. So I am definitely going to okay, so I'm sorry, I got somebody now checking to make sure I can be heard. And I don't know what emoji this is. Okay, good. She said we can hear you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. So like I said, I cannot do another 2 hours again. I just do not have that in me. So what I decided I would do, because I gotta have my day 6 video, is that I'm just gonna read the recap that is on CNN. Um, because right now it is 1:56 a.m. on the East Coast, and I gotta be up in the morning to live stream for the trial that normally starts around 9 and 9:30. Okay, so enough of me complaining. I'm just gonna jump into the recap, and again, this thing better record this time. All right, so and I will add, because I have literally read all of the testimony, I will definitely, where appropriate, sprinkle in some additional commentary. So the jury in Sean Combs' racketeering and sex trafficking trial has been dismissed for the day after hearing testimony from 3 witnesses. So the 3 witnesses today was Don Richard, also Cassie's best friend of 8 years, Kerry Morgan, and then a personal assistant for Diddy. I think his name was David James, if I'm not mistaken. So those were the 3 witnesses that took the stand today. Don Richard picked up from yesterday. I mean, I'm not yesterday, but Friday. If you all were checking out what happened on Friday in the trial, then you know Don got on the stand. She was testifying to incidents of Diddy committing domestic violence against Cassie that she witnessed. And she also said that Diddy threatened her and one other person and said, if you talk about what you saw here, you know, I'm from a place where people go missing. And the prosecutor asked her, well, when he said that to you, how did you interpret that? And she said, death. I mean, when she said death, the defense attorney objected, and I guess the judge said, yeah, that was it for the day. And so they wrapped up Friday on that note. They really got off to a late start Monday morning for a couple of reasons. One, there was a juror who was running late. And then, secondly, the lawyers had a long conversation about what would be the scope of Dawn's testimony, because the defense was objecting to her testimony being about domestic violence. And also, they had a problem with her testifying about events that they said Cassie had not mentioned. So they were having a back and forth this morning with the judge, I guess trying to make decisions on what would be allowed or what would be the acceptable line of questioning for Don Richards. Now, I can tell you, or Don Richard, I want to add that S to her name, even though it doesn't have one. Now, I can tell you from what takes place when Don gets on the stand, it seems like the judge was on the side of the prosecution, and she allowed them to ask all the questions they wanted to ask. They were primarily based around incidents of domestic violence. So whatever the defense was trying to argue against, apparently they did not win that argument. Don Richard testimony to me, she came out of the gate really, really strong. She was answering the prosecutor's questions very well. Her answer sounded real solid. And then it was time for the defense to cross examine her. And that's when it got a little wonky. So I'm going to jump in the recap that we have here. And again, like I said, I will add a little extra commentary based off of having read all of the testimony. I just can't do that again. Okay, after I had already recorded this in a 2-hour video with no audio. Okay, so anyway, let's get into the recap of Don Richards' testimony. Don Richards is a former member of the musical group Danity Kane. Richard said that, and I'm just going to say Don instead of Richard, it just feels more comfortable to me. Don said that after she witnessed Combs' violent behavior, she told Ventura she should leave. Don said she did not intervene out of fear for her own safety. Don also testified she did not immediately talk about the alleged abuse that she witnessed because Combs and Harve Pierre, the former president of Bad Boy Records, told her not to. When asked what made her speak out, Richard pointed to Cassie. Okay, so one thing to note here, the former president of Bad Boy Records, Harve Pierre, he resigned. He resigned when a lot of this stuff started kind of turning up. The heat started turning up. He has also been accused of sexual assault. So that's worth noting. Also, Richard did say, Don, she did say that what gave her courage to come out was the fact that Cassie was finally speaking up, and so that kind of motivated her to do the same. Don testified she often saw Combs taking drugs, including weed, ketamine, and cocaine. She did not see him take opiates. Don testified she heard Combs discuss Cassie's career with her. During those conversations, Combs would sometimes turn violent toward Cassie, but he usually said Cassie's career would progress on his timeline. Don testified she saw Cassie at different times with injuries on her face, arms, and legs after Combs was violent toward his former girlfriend. Cassie attempted to cover up the injuries with clothing, makeup, and sunglasses. Okay, so then they're going to skip to Kerry, but I just want to say a couple of things here that's not covered in the way CNN frames up how Don's testimony went. On cross, the defense attorney was asking Don a lot of questions about testimony that they said they never heard her say anything about. She did not give it in her earlier statements with the government, but she's now claiming certain things. So, for example, when Don said that Diddy said people could come up missing, that is something that the defense attorney said she never mentioned in her statement to the U.S. government. And what they accused Don of on the stand is that, well, this is actually something that you only mentioned like a week ago. They also accused her in one statement to the U.S. government. She has said there's this whole incident where allegedly Diddy threw a skillet at Cassie. Don is saying she was there when this happened. Well, according to the defense attorney, Don says in the, I guess, conversation with the U.S. government that she heard something hit the wall, but she didn't actually see it. And now she's claiming that she saw it. And they were asking her, you're having a hard time keeping, your story straight. What's the deal there? And Cassie made a comment that her memory is getting better as time progresses, which I also thought was a challenging response because most people's memories actually get worse as time progresses, not get better. She also, Don also said in response to a question where her details were different than what she had said to the government earlier. She said she is, and I'm paraphrasing here, but basically she said she's telling the story as best she can. So I think with the cross, they were able to maybe for a juror or two, make them question just how credible Dawn actually was, with her having these gaps in her testimony or inconsistencies in her testimony. They also mentioned that Dawn has a civil suit that she has out right now with Diddy. And they basically suggested that this is just a money grab for Dawn. They also questioned Don about, well, and I'm paraphrasing here again, but the questioning was with this sentiment. If Diddy is this big monster that you saw beat up Cassie, threaten you that if you said anything, you could possibly come up missing, then why would you reach back out to him because you wanted to work with him again? And I think they said that Don reached out to him maybe as recently as even 2020, trying to work with him again. And she admitted that she did contact him, to try to work with him again. And so the defense set that up to, that's kind of strange. I don't know why anybody would call a monster to work with a monster again. So another thing that Dawn did within her testimony that became a pattern for not just her, but it's a pattern now with whose name is called out as far as seeing a lot of things and not being involved. Dawn says in her testimony that she witnessed things, security. She mentioned a couple of D-Rock, and she also mentioned Bond, and she also she also mentioned, oh my gosh, his name is escaping me right now, but it sounds like a Italian name. But she mentioned several security guards who witnessed some of the assault incidents. She also mentioned that Diddy punched Cassie in the stomach at an event where people were there from the record label. And so she said, nobody did anything about it. The lawyer on the prosecutor side was very intentional on asking her more than once. Everybody who's seeing these things, what did they do? He asked Dawn in a situation, what did you do when this incident happened? She said nothing. What did anybody do? What did security do? What did the people from the record label do? What did they do when they saw these things happen right in front of their face? And Dawn was very clear that nobody did anything. So I think, again, Dawn's testimony started out real strong. It was interesting to me, though, different than how CNN recaps it here, when you're reading like the blow by blow of what people are saying in the court, well, as best as we could see it on the X thread about it, it comes across a little differently, because it really, like how Dawn said she tried to convince Cassie to leave. She talks about an incident where another incident separate from the skillet incident, where Diddy had punched Cassie and she had a swollen eye, and they went in the bathroom, and Cassie was crying and she was trying to put on makeup to cover up the wound or the bruise. And then Dawn said Cassie wore shades to the event so that people wouldn't see, her bruise. And she said she also wore shades just as a sign of solidarity with Cassie. So she talked about that. So she talked about a lot of incidents, but up until probably maybe midway her testimony today, she was emphasizing that people, including herself, saw what was going on with Cassie and they didn't do anything. Now, one thing that I thought was interesting in the civil suit that Dawn has filed against Diddy, and I have not read the whole thing, I've only read a little bit of it, but this is something that I noticed. There's a couple of rows in Dawn's civil suit where she goes into detail about incidents involving Cassie, like her witnessing Diddy harming Cassie and the trauma that caused her. And then there's another bullet where she is complaining about not receiving all of the earnings that she believed she was due, working as part of musical groups for Diddy. Okay. With the last one, and for her not feeling as if she got all the earnings she deserved or was due, she might have to get in line for that one, because Diddy does not have a record of being honest with his artists or treating them fairly or even giving them contracts that are not contracts built to screw them over. uh, Diddy has a track record of screwing over his artists. So good luck with her trying to get that money. The other part that I was a little, I don't know how I feel about that, because Don kept emphasizing before she said I guess at one point she told Cassie that she should try to leave. Don kept emphasizing that herself, along with other people, did nothing as these incidents were happening to Cassie in real time. I think it bothers me a little bit that now she has a civil suit where she wants to put in there that maybe she's due some type of uh, money because of what she experienced watching it, but yet she didn't do anything, say anything, or she kept saying that in her testimony. So I don't know, something about that is a little bit didn't sit right with me. This, of course, does not mean at all that she is necessarily lying about anything she said she saw with Diddy, because Diddy, I would bet that he did most of everything she said, if not all of what she said. I only say most of what she said because she had inconsistencies in recanting the story. So I leave a little room for she may be exaggerating some of the stories or a story because of the fact that she has a civil suit, because the inconsistencies just kind of became too obvious. But it's I don't know, it kind of bothers me a bit that in real time, when all of this was happening, Don, security, assistant, um, didn't do anything to really help Cassie at all. One security guy, when she was trying to leave, actually brought her back to the situation. So to think that any of those people, they may very well have their grievances against Diddy and may be definitely in the right to file a civil suit or some other type of case against Diddy. But it kind of bothers me that in real time, these people did not do anything to help Cassie, even if she didn't take the help. They're saying we didn't do anything at the moment, and they didn't do anything at the moment because they needed Diddy, in my opinion. Some of it, they say, oh, I was afraid what he might do. Okay, you may very well have been afraid of physical harm because this man is crazy. Okay. But I think the biggest fear was losing their proximity to him. And they were hoping that, that proximity to him or that association with him was going to be what would help them blow up. So all these years later, for you to now say, yeah, I might need a check for what I saw, I kind of got a problem with that. But again, I only read a portion of her civil suit. I did not read a whole thing. So maybe there's some other things in there for which she's suing. I hope so. And again, the part about her trying to get the money she felt that she should have been given from Diddy as a part of what she put in as an artist. Good luck. Okay, so moving right along, the next witness on the stand was Kerry Morgan. Kerry Morgan, and the friendship, far as her friendship with Cassie, it says 17 years here, but at some point in time, I think someone said even 18 years. It might have been Kerry. So anyway, we'll just go with 17 years. Kerry Morgan was Cassie's best friend for 17 years. 17 years. That is a long time. And long story short, their 17-year friendship ended because Diddy allegedly assaulted Kerry Morgan, and Cassie did not stand up for her. And according to Kerry Morgan, that is where the friendship ended. She had to draw the line in the sand, if you will, when, according to her words, she has, been with Cassie. She's traveled a lot with Cassie and Diddy. She has too many incidents. She recanted some of those, or she recounted some of those. That is not the right word. It is late. I am tired, and I'm recording this for the second time. So forgive me. Kerry Morgan told of a few of the incidents that she witnessed, that she was there for with Cassie. The incidents ranged from uh, Diddy punching and hitting Cassie, dragging her at least 10 feet down a hallway by her hair. He hitting her and causing this huge bump on her head. Uh, him beating her, and she ran into the woods. They were someplace and she ran into the woods. So Kerry got on a golf cart, Diddy got on a golf cart, and they both were going out trying to find Cassie. She ended up finding Cassie, and she and Cassie hid in a ditch for a while, just trying to, I don't know what they were going to do, wait it out or whatever, but they ended up going back to the house. She talked about an incident where she and Cassie actually hid on a neighbor's stairs in order to try to get away from Diddy. She talked about being after the 2016 incident, which is the incident, the hotel incident that we all saw on the videotape. She talks about what happened later that night. I think she said it was almost 30 minutes after that incident it ended that Diddy showed up at their apartment, banging on the door and wanting to come in. She talked about Diddy coming to the house one night and hitting the door with a hammer, and they called the police. She talked about also getting Cassie to call the police, but then she said later on she wasn't sure who called the police, but after one of the assaults, the police came. But when the police came, she said that Cassie would not speak and would not say anything at all. She would not talk to the police. She would not tell them, who hurt her. She said Cassie would not even give the police her identity. When Diddy came to the house and she said, our apartment, and she said he was slamming on the door with a hammer, she said Cassie just sat there. And she said to her, Cassie just sat there as almost like unmoved, unbothered, almost as if she wanted Diddy to come in and do some type of harm to her. I can't remember if the defense objected or not, but that sounds like something they would have objected to. So she told a lot of what happened when the situation with Diddy. She said Diddy actually hit her in the head behind her right ear with a wooden hanger, and also choked her. And when he choked her, he was wanting Kerry to tell him who Cassie was cheating with. And so Kerry said Cassie was actually really cheating on him at the time, but of course she didn't tell Diddy that. And again, even if Cassie was cheating on him at the time, that definitely does not justify him putting his hands on Cassie, nor does it justify him putting his hands on Kerry. Okay, so Kerry talked a lot about those things, and let me just read a little bit here as far as how CNN captured it, because it may make me recall some other things you all might be interested in. So Morgan testified that she was best friends with Cassie for 17 years, but they currently don't speak because in 2018, Cassie's boyfriend assaulted me. This is what Kerry said today in court. Morgan testified she saw Combs get physically violent with Cassie on 2 occasions and that he assaulted her. She said Combs sent her money and she signed an NDA. Morgan testified Combs was not intoxicated or high during those times. So what Morgan actually said in her testimony is that out of all of the times that she's seen Diddy hit Cassie or assault Cassie in some way, she said at least 2 of the times she know for sure that she witnessed he was not high at all when he did that. Morgan testified she encouraged Cassie to speak with the police the day of the 2016 hotel incident. She said she never called law enforcement when Combs was violent because Cassie didn't want her to. Kerry said Ventura told her she couldn't leave Combs because he controlled everything. Later, Morgan would testify that Combs controlled Cassie's job, her car, her apartment. He controlled everything. Wow. So the defense attorney on cross was asking Kerry, why is it that in 2000, this incident happened in 2018? Um, and she wanted to know why she was not talking to Cassie again. Kerry said, our friendship ended the day her boyfriend assaulted me and she won't take up for me. I think the amount that she was paid was $30,000. Kerry Morgan says this money came from Diddy. When there was testimony from Cassie, and Cassie suggested that she paid part of it and Diddy paid part of it. I don't know if anybody believes that because, you know, Diddy was the cash cow and paying for everything. And so, at any rate, Kerry Morgan got paid $30,000 and signed the NDA to basically just kind of let that be the end of what happened there. One thing that Kerry Morgan said, that after all of that testimony, and she got into great detail about the violence that she saw between Diddy and Cassie. She said there were times when she thought they should try to work it out, that she felt like they really did love each other and that they should try to work it out. That was baffling to me because after being on the stand for this long, talking about all the violence you saw between Cassie and Diddy, talking about the violence he put on her. I mean, from hitting you in the head with a wooden clothes hanger to choking you, right? Having to call the police, having to run in the woods, having somebody at your door banging on your door with a hammer, just out of control. And for that to have been your best friend for 18 years, it is just unimaginable to me that you would arrive at a point where you would say, but you know what? Sometimes I just really wish they would work it out because, I think they really loved each other. That was off to me. I'm starting to think all these people with this Hollywood stuff, fame stuff, money, the drugs, and everything else, something's just not right. Because how is that even a logical, rational thought after everything she testified to? I will say, though, one more thing before we move on to the next witness. I did think Kerry Morgan was a strong witness. Um, I'm trying to think if there was some inconsistencies at all in her testimony. Um, I know there was a thing. I think maybe one thing defense tried to get her straight on about something that they thought was, she said one thing to the US government but another thing now, but it may have only been like one thing. And also when the defense is doing this, they're really reaching because I mean if you're talking to somebody who was friends with this person for 17 years and they're telling you about all of these incidents that happened, even connecting the timeline to what happened at the hotel and what happened after the hotel, the jury's gonna, the lion's share of that jury, if not all of that jury, is not gonna find any of what this lady is saying hard to believe because they've already watched the videotape. So even if there is a inconsistency here or there, I think Carrie's testimony was really, really strong. She definitely did not have like the inconsistent feeling that Don's testimony had once she was crossed by the defense attorneys. So I think Kerry is a very strong witness for the prosecution. And, I guess her relationship with Cassie is done. But, it's kind of, I understand why the relationship ended, especially with Kerry saying I had to draw the line in the sand once you have, this man now assaulting me. And she said what really made the friendship fall apart is that Cassie didn't support her. And she said Cassie told her she was over exaggerating. Oh, now I remember. One of the things that the defense attorney said to Kerry Morgan is that after Diddy, after the situation with Diddy, hit her in the head with a wooden hanger and choked her, you went to urgent care. It's what the prosecutors asked Kerry. Kerry said yes. And she said, well, they said, well, you said to someone else, I don't know, I'm assuming it's the US government years ago, that you went to the hospital and that it was a bloody situation. And so they were trying to point out like Again, this is to me the defense reaching for straws, because hear what they're trying to do in this moment when they were asking those questions. Okay, let's say we concede to the fact that Diddy hit you with a clothes hanger and he choked you. He still didn't choke you as bad where you needed to go to the hospital, and there wasn't like a whole lot of blood. I mean, after he choked you, you just simply went to urgent care. So that's what I mean. Like, if that's the defense's argument, if that, after this testimony from Cassie's best friend of 17 years, if that's the level of comeback the defense has to try to, I guess, get some wins on their side for Diddy, they're not winning. They're not winning with this witness, because it's like, oh, okay, so we're going to debate now. You said one time you went to the hospital, but then another time you said you went to urgent care. And one time you said it was blood involved, and she was choked. She has not changed that story by Diddy. She was hit in the head with a wooden clothes hanger by Diddy. She has not changed that story. And Diddy and Cassie gave her $30,000, had her sign an NDA for her to go away. Okay. And that was her end. That was the end of her friendship with Cassie. So next up on the stage, we had David James. This is the person who will take the stand again in the morning. David James is Diddy's personal assistant. James said he was with Combs every day he was working and traveled around the world with him. James testified that Combs' security staffers often told him to stay in my lane, especially if he was asking too many questions. James said he recalled a conversation he had with Ventura where she said to him, "Man, this lifestyle is crazy." He said he agreed and suggested she leave. He testified, I can't get out," Ventura told him. According to James, she told him Combs controlled her music career, paid for her apartment, and gave her an allowance. So there again, all the trappings that sometimes you're just gonna have to maybe leave all the bells and whistles, if that's what you call them, behind in order to save yourself. Okay, in order to save yourself. And that may sound easier said than done, but it depends on what that outcome is. At least Cassie, in her situation, made it to this trial and was successful with her civil suit, and she got millions in the bank. But I still question, what did she lose though? What, in the process of all of this that she's talking about, what cost? What did it cost for her to even end up where she is now? What price did she have to pay? And was that price too high? Other people in other situations like this, especially these DV situations, they sometimes don't even get to make it out. They don't get to the other side. So it's just a lot. And just to say, she was staying there because he basically was paying for everything and giving her an allowance, and that was part of her reasons why she couldn't leave, right? And so one thing that's not mentioned here in the CNN recap, but actually happened in court today with the witness Kerry Morgan, Cassie's best friend, and also David James, the personal assistant. Both people mentioned Kim Porter. And Kim Porter is another person whose name just keeps popping up in this trial. So Carrie was asked, was Cassie jealous of Kim Porter? And she was like, for sure. For sure. She was really jealous of Kim Porter. She was upset that she couldn't go, Cassie, that she couldn't go to the New Year's parties. And she was just upset about that. She was very upset about and jealous about Kim. And she was also jealous of the person Diddy started messing with years later, Gina, who Cassie wanted him to leave Gina alone, but he had been with Gina, I don't know, maybe a little over a year, Cassie said. And she was upset that Diddy wasn't leaving Gina alone, because in Cassie's testimony, when it came to Gina, she said that she didn't want to be a side chick, which is very interesting, because she came into this situation with Diddy as a side chick, because at that point Diddy was publicly linked to Kim. And so when Cassie started, doing what she's doing with Diddy, and before all of the drama started. Uh, when she was actually with Ryan Leslie, another music producer, and she started seeing Sean while she was still dating Ryan Leslie. All of this is based off of her testimony. She was still, though, she came in as a side chick. So what I saw throughout Cassie's testimony and also the testimony that came from other people along the way, it felt very much like, in spite of all the things that Cassie had done and participated in and everything that she was subjected to, she was still very much fighting for a spot on Diddy's roster. Far as we know, all of the women could have been fighting for a spot on Diddy's roster, including Kim. But the personal assistant even said that he heard Diddy say that Kim Porter was his queen, and she was his queen living in Los Angeles with his family, and that Cassie was just young and moldable, whatever that means. I don't know if that means moldable for freak offs. I don't know what that means. So I don't know, but that's what David James said that he overheard Diddy saying about the differences between Kim Porter and Cassie. All of this, of course, supports Cassie's testimony when she said that it hurt her when Kim Porter passed away, and Diddy said that Kim Porter was his soulmate. So she said she was hurt by that, but again, putting the domestic violence stuff to the side from this perspective. What I'm about to say now, as far as Cassie feeling a way about Kim and feeling a way about Gina, has nothing to do with the violence that she experienced with Diddy, because that was wrong. All the other stuff, I don't care if she came in and tried to take any woman's place, person that they were with, the father of another woman's children. All that is just for commentary for some folks, but it has absolutely nothing to do with Diddy putting his hands on her the way he did. He's guilty of domestic violence, and quite frankly, that's not even debatable. The only thing is he's not charged with that, but it's going to be linked to coercion, so it'll all connect, I do believe, in the end. But saying all of that just to say, if you come into a situation as a side chick and you find yourself fighting for a spot on a roster years later after you've been with this man, doing everything under the sun with this man, Cassie testified that she wasn't even allowed to form a relationship with Diddy's children. So to me, no matter how much in those text messages Diddy was professing love and all of that, he definitely put Cassie in a particular type of category. Maybe she was the arm candy he would love to pull out, parade around, use, and abuse. But if you've been together for years and you won't even let this woman have a relationship with your family. So I just thought that was very strange. But another thing this assistant David James said was that he rattled off several names as far as the women that was in Diddy's life. He said Kim Porter's name, he said Cassie's name, and then he said Tara and somebody else I had never heard of, and Gina and somebody else. So in the time he was with Diddy, he rattled off several names of women who were actually involved with Diddy in some kind of quote unquote relationship. So the testimony continues tomorrow with David James. I'm not really sure where his conversation is going, as far as is it going to be just more domestic violence testimony, as far as being a witness to what Diddy was doing to Cassie, or is this going to get into how he as an employee was perhaps abused? We'll have to wait and see how that happens. Oh, one other note, Michael B. Jordan's name came up again today, but luckily it was much ado about nothing, just saying what we already know. Kerry, the best friend of 17 years, she brought up Michael B. Jordan's name and said that yes, Diddy was very jealous of Michael B. Jordan, especially when he thought Michael B. Jordan and Cassie might have been trying to, I don't know, either form some kind of relationship or express some kind of interest in each other. She said Diddy was not happy about that at all. Not happy about that at all. So that is pretty much in a nutshell what happened on day 6. If I had to say who won the day on day 6, whether it was the defense or the prosecutor, I would say it's a split. If Don Richard testimony near the end on cross from the defense didn't have so many inconsistencies, I would have definitely given this day 6 to the prosecution. But she did have a lot of inconsistencies, and I think some of that might have ended up being a win for the defense. So I would split day 6 to say there was no clear winner. Both the prosecution and defense kind of split that day equally. So again, tomorrow we pick up with David James being back on the stand. I'm not sure who else is scheduled to testify tomorrow, but we will see. So thank you for stopping by, checking out this video. Please like the video, comment on the video. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. I appreciate the support. I am very new to live stream, as probably evidenced by the fact that I recorded a 2-hour live where I literally read all of the testimony with the verbatims we had within X from a journalist inside the courtroom, and that whole video has zero audio. So that's why I'm doing this recap this way. So want to stay consistent with what I'm doing. So again, thank you all so much. Thank you so much for stopping by, spending any of your time with me. Please thumbs up the video. Please leave a comment. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. And until the next time, which is going to be not too long from now. It is 2:07 a.m. Is it 2:07? Oh my gosh, it is 2:37 a.m. And I want to be up when this trial starts again in the morning and ready. So I'm signing out right now. All right. Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. And until the next time, bye.